Guys, it's Andrew, still on the Humber River, and I want to give a shout out to Andy Sweetland today, guys. Right, some of you local guys will remember Andy from, I think it's Whiteout Films and a number of those production companies that we have here in Newfoundland. Look, in our hearts, Andy Sweetland is a boondocker, right? And we're so proud of Andy and all of those boys that are managing to make careers for themselves, that are recognizing that, look, snowmobiling is a pastime, right? It's very difficult to make a career. There's very few people that make a career out of snowmobiling. And once you get to the point of accepting the fact that you need a career, right? You need an education, you need to find a trade, you need to be willing to apply yourself in order to be able to afford to snowmobile, right? Don't ever, always remember, guys, Dan Gardner has a 4.0 grade point average, right? Like, he is an accountant, he is a lawyer. Fatty's a rocket scientist, guys, right? These guys are great, great men who have great minds and have applied themselves in so many different ways. Well, Andy, guys, I'm thinking about Andy today because a lot of Andy's posts, we see Andy's out in Alberta right now and he's working hard and he is making time. No, he doesn't have his snowmobile with him. Right now, Andy's most likely making a sacrifice for his future and for his family on account of the fact that I suspect he can't afford a snowmobile right now. Probably can't afford to operate and maintain a snowmobile. So what's Andy doing with himself? He's making the most out of the opportunity, guys, because every time I look online, he's angling, right? He's on the rivers. And what's fascinating, and I would imagine, I keep thinking about Andy, I've been meaning to ask him about this, right? Because what you have to remember in Newfoundland, when you look at these rivers, and you've heard me say before, guys, 50% of this island is covered in fresh water. And I always tease the tourists because despite the fact that there's so much water, we don't have any freshwater fish in Newfoundland. No, it's like, you don't have this, there's no fish in those rivers. I said, no. So there's no freshwater fish, right? The kind of fish that we do have in these rivers are salmonids. So you've often heard me talking, and guys, I'm on the corner of Hammond's Farm right here, right now, right? You'll often hear me say there's no agriculture in Newfoundland. Look, you gotta know when you're talking to Andrew, right? Remember Andrew facts. I make broad sweeping generalizations all the time. There's no agriculture here like you crowd got on the mainland. There's no agriculture here like what Andy is seeing out in Alberta, right? We just don't have it, because you got to remember Newfoundland represents the southernmost extreme location of the Canadian Shield. Right in the last ice age, this whole countryside is covered in a mile of ice, right? Ice that is squatting and squashing, rounding off these hills over here, taking all the vegetation, all of the animal life. Remember, there's only 14 indigenous species of mammals. And it's also taking all of the freshwater fish. Everything is scraped right off of this island. Now, does that mean that there's no aquatic life in this river? Of course not. Where do you think Andy honed his skills? Right? But all of our inland freshwater fish are salmonids. They're fish that can live, they're trout, sticklebacks, they're salmon, fish that can live. We don't have bass, we don't have pickerel, we don't have pike, we don't have any of these queer species that the crowd on the mainland got, right? It's a true sportsman's paradise because it's only sport fishing that we have, trout and salmon that came back into these rivers when the glaciers retreated, right? Things had changed, the waterways were open, fish that came out of the ocean and were able to enter into these river systems. Some of them, because of the rebound, some of them got captured inland. They couldn't make it back to the sea. But for the most part, our freshwater fish that are you'll find in these inland waterways, they go back and forth between the ocean and the inland every single year. So Andy, I hope you're enjoying an opportunity to fish those other species. I want you to know how proud we are of you, dude, right? I know how, guys, I love telling this story about this other young fella. It kind of reminds me of Andy, and maybe rightly or wrongly. Because Andy, I know you peripherally. I don't really have an intimate relationship with you. But when you go out west, like so many boys your age, right? We worry about you. right? We really do. We had a boy from Bonavista, and this is one of my favorite stories. He went out and he was working with a landscaping company, and the owner of the landscaping company took a real shine to him, right? And everything, he gave everything. He had to have Tyler up to the cabin. He was doing everything with Tyler. And then all of a sudden one day Tyler didn't show up to work, right? And the boss got worried because, guys, you know what we're known for, right? You know what kind of trouble you can get into. It's so easy to get distracted. It really is, right? To lose your focus, to find things aren't working out the way maybe that you wanted to. And when this kid disappeared, the boss went, well, he started looking for him. And when he finally got him on the phone, right, he's you know, you're not at work. He says, I's all, he said, how come you're not at work? He said, I's all in, boy. And the boss didn't understand a word he was saying, right? He said, what? He said, why aren't you? He said, I's all in, boy. And the boss didn't understand it again. He asked him to spell it. And of course, poor Tyler can't spell. Tyler hardly knows the letters of the alphabet. And it was this big delay. He said, I's tired, boy. Well, Andy, I know we're all going to get tired at times, dude. And I hope that you stay the course, man. You're doing us so proud. I hope that you continue to enjoy those rivers. I hope that you can share the story, right? Remind those people out there about Newfoundland. Maybe you'll have an opportunity to bring some of them home. Try some angling on our rivers with the real sport fish, because we don't have any of that stuff in our waterways getting in the way. Hope this finds everybody in good cheer, and I hope that you're able to share this. I hope you're enjoying these, guys. It's just my little way of trying to kill a bit of COVID. I'm not on tour. I don't have an audience. You're the closest thing that I got right now, right? I do appreciate your time. Thanks, guys.